uh, financial reporting in public sector. Uh, our discussion is limited to basis and issues. Yeah, you already studied finance and accountancy students how to prepare financial statements and financial reports in private sector organizations, especially profit-making organizations, companies, partnership, individual, right, entrepreneurship. Right? So, public sector is totally different from profit-making organizations, commercial organizations, right? Private sector organizations, public sector organizations are totally different from private sector organization. Ultimate objectives of private organization is to make profit, but the ultimate objective of public sector organization is to provide better, good service, good goods and services in an appropriate manner for the social development. And rather than looking for profit, the government organizations looking for value for money. Each cents spent by the government, the public money, should have a value. Right? The profit is totally different from value for money things. Right? So financial reporting, how to enter transactions, right? How to prepare. So you have already studied, uh, what are the accounting concepts, double entry system, and the cash basis, accrual basis, preparation of trial balance, and the preparation of final statement, profit loss account, balance sheet, cash flow statement. Right? You you are all experts. You have a good knowledge on preparing financial statements, reports on private sector organization in private sector organizations. But now we are going to discuss the nature, the basis and issues in the financial reporting in the public sector. It's totally new concept for all of you. Right. Right. You see public sector accounting and reporting basis. Right. The cash and accrual, right? Cash accounting, accrual accounting. Right? In the beginning in accounting course, you have studied what is cash-based accounting and accrual-based accounting. So cash and accrual-based accounting represents two endpoints, two endpoints on a spectrum of possible accounting and financial reporting basis. Right? You know what is case-based accounting, accrual-based accounting very clearly, and there is a two endpoint. Right? If a company follows accrual-based accounting, it's no issue for you. You already all the times you have discussed, you have studied and become expert in accrual-based accounting. That's why you are entering uh, expense payable, advance payment, right, prepayment, right, and the income receivable. So this kind of things arises due to accrual accounting. But cash accounting is very simple. Right? When you receive cash, then only you can realize as a revenue. You can recognize revenue. When you pay money for any expenditure, that time only you recognize the expenses for the payment. Right? The timing is not the matter for cash accounting. Right? But accrual accounting, the timing is the important one. So case accounting recognizes transactions. Case accounting recognizes transaction when cash is paid, and cash is paid or received. Case accounting, so when it recognizes transactions, cash is paid or cash is received, which need not be related to the timing, not related to the timing of the services provided or benefit received from the transaction. For example, electricity bill. electricity bill you have received for the month of December, 2020. In accrual-based accounting, you says what? You recognize as an expenditure. Electricity is an expenditure for the year 2020, but you are not paid. Even though you are not paid that electricity 5,000, for example, it belongs to the year 2020. But in case accounting system, you will not recognize as expenditure for the year 2020. If you pay that money on that December 2020, then only it will be considered expenditure for the year December 2020. If you are failed to pay that electricity bill in the year 2020, December 2020, then it will not be counted as expenditure for that year. If you paid that money in 2021 January, then that electricity charge for the December will become an expenditure for the year 2021 December, right? So it recognized once you paid or once you received, regardless the time. Final financial results. Financial results are reported on the basis of differences between cash received and cash paid. So financial results is simply profit or loss. Profit or loss is simply financial result. The financial results in cash accounting system is measured, reported on the basis of the differences between cash received and cash paid. So for example, during the year 2020, you have received 10 million as cash received, 10 million cash received, and you paid only 6 million. Then the profit for the year is simply 4 million. Right? This is the cash. You have received cash 10 million, you paid cash 6 million. Therefore, the profit for the year is profit for the year 6 million. So this is the financial result of the organization, right? On cash basis. Cash accounting has traditionally, in the early stages, early period of accounting, they are not considered about accrual system. They started with cash accounting system. In private sector organization, most of the established organizations which are following accounting rules, they are following accrual based system. Like you, all of you are familiar with accrual accounting system, but in the early stage of accounting history, they have uh, followed case accounting system. Case accounting has traditionally been the basis upon which most public sector entities have accounted and reported. Today, the government organizations, most of the most of the countries, government organization, most of the in Sri Lanka also, most of the government organizations are still following case accounting system, largely reflecting the benefit of this method. So the benefit of the case accounting is demonstrating compliance with cash spending limits. Right? You know, every year the government allocates a certain amount of money allocations for each organization. Right? And when the organizations follow cash accounting system, they have to report how much we have received from the government and how much we spend and how much balance. So this is how. So the positive thing is, if government allocated 10 million for the year, the government organizations unable to spend more than 10 million. It can comply. So it not goes the ceiling. It will not go beyond the upper limit. So if government treasury allocate 10 million, the maximum limit is 10 million. Even the government organization unable to spend 10 million and 1 rupees. Even 1 rupees additionally, they can't spend because they have to pay from the cash. Once they have once they have received the cash, or once they have enough money in their hand, then only they can spend. That time only they can recognize as an expenditure. Before they are getting money from the government, they cannot say as a revenue from the government. Right? No. So only cash movements are accounted, considered in the government sector organization which are following cash accounting system. So this begins the basis upon which governments have traditionally budgeted and upon which public sector entities have generally been held accountable. Right? The government organization accountable for the budgeted amount. If a school, for the school X which is situated in Ampara, the government has allocated 20 million for the year. Then the school will accountable for that 20 million. When it receive cash from the government, they will record it as a income, cash inflow. And when they make expenditure, spend, then it's they paid by cash, then only they recognize as expenditure. So it is easy to control. That's the only uh, benefit of cash accounting system. Now we let us discuss about accrual-based accounting, accrual accounting system. Accrual, comprehensive sometimes called. Accrual accounting recognizes transactions or events during a particular accounting period. Accounting period is important. 1st of April 2020 to 31st March 2021. It's accounting period, for example, current period. When they occur, irrespective when cash is paid or received. You know, in the accrual based system, as I given an example, electricity bill 5,000 for the month of December 2020, and it is paid in after paid or not, regardless paid or not by cash, then the electricity expenditure has incurred for the month of December 2020. According to the accrual based system, the accountant should record as expenditure. Electricity is an expenditure, regardless whether it's paid or not. It is the expenditure for that particular month. But in cash accounting, if they are not paid the electricity for the month of December 2020, it will not considered as an expenditure for the month. So the time period is important here. The event, the accounting period is important. Timing is very important in accrual account system. But in cash account system, the time of payment, time of receive of money is the matter. So it seeks accrual accounting seeks to match the cost incurred during a particular accounting period with the benefit earned. With the benefit earned. So for example, electricity is a benefit we have earned and we have to pay it. Whether we pay it on cash for the month or in future, regardless the payment, it should be recognized as expenditure on which it has incurred. And revenues with goods or services provided. These transactions may take place independently of cash transaction, but may also include cash transactions, right? Even though accrual system, accrual accounting system include cash transaction also. If you pay money, if you paid for the electricity for the month of December by cash, it will be recorded. It will be recorded. Cash transaction also will be recorded in the accrual accounting system. These are the basics. The thing what I want to emphasize is the private sector organizations are following accrual based system, and the government sector organization, most of them are following cash accounting system. That is the summary of these two slides. Right. The elements of accrual based accounting And reporting regimes comprise, from your A level onwards, you have studied about the accrual-based system. Based on that accrual-based system, we have categorized the elements of accounting. So we can divide here into five: revenues and expenses. These two comes related to income and like profit and loss accounting. Income and income, income and expenditures, right? So these two will contribute to making profit. And assets, liabilities, and equities will be related to financial position. It's mean balance sheet. Balance sheet. Right? Revenue. What is revenue? Just we recall. Revenue. Revenue representing amounts earned during the period or not collected. Sales. No, whether you have received money from the sales or not, in the accrual based system, you will be recognized the sales as revenue, regardless the payment you received. Revenue representing the amount earned during the period, whether or not collected, whether you have received by cash or not, though you have to recognize as a revenue. Expenses comprising the goods or services consumed during a period, irrespective of whether or not they have been paid. So electricity, you have enjoyed the service, but whether you have paid by cash or not, in accrual account system, you have to record as expenditure for that particular period. Assets, assets representing resources controlled by an entity as a result of past events and from which future economic benefits are expected to follow to the entity. And liabilities, liabilities representing the future obligations of the entity arriving from the past events, settlement of which is expected to result in outflow from the enterprise in the future of resources embodying economic benefits. And equity representing the residual interest in the assets of an entity after deducting all liabilities. Assets minus liabilities equal equity. We have studied very clearly in the previous year, previous semester, LKS, Sri Lanka Accounting Standard, International Accounting Standard, and most importantly, Sri Lanka Financial Reporting Framework or IFRS, International Financial Reporting frameworks clearly defined what is revenue, expenses, assets, liabilities, and equity. Right. The relationship of revenues and expenditures, the relationship of revenue and expenditure enables the determination of profit. Determination of profit. If you are getting higher revenue than the expenditure, for example, 10 million revenue, 6 million expenditure, then you will be end up with profit. So the relationship is important to determine the profit. The determination of profit in the case of business oriented activities. In case of non-profit organization, so how the relationship is. So permit assessment of the net cost of providing services. Net cost of providing services. Earlier, to provide better services to their customers, they have spent 10 million. This year, they are spending only 9 million. Now, yeah, efficiency has improved. Right? So providing the same services, they have spent less cost. Right? Permit net cost of providing services in case of non-profit organizations. Right? For example, CTB, Ceylon Transport Board. This is one of the uh, government organization. It collects revenue and also income expenditure. The ultimate objective is not making profit, not making profit. The ultimate objective is to provide a good service at net cost, right? Lower net cost. The relationship between assets and liabilities enables the assessment of entity's financial position. Entity's financial position by comparing assets and liabilities, then any person can interpret about the financial strength of the organization. Financial strength of the organization. Generally, accrual basis of accounting and reporting is recognized as useful in providing information on such matters. Even though it's a public sector organization, if they are following accrual basis, they are following accrual basis of accounting, it is very useful providing information such as the resource control assets, resources control of an entity, full cost of operations, providing services, and assessment of economy and efficiency of operation. If government organizations follows accrual basis, then it will give more information about assets, cost, and the efficiency. To get this kind of information in case account system is comparatively difficult. Right? It's comparatively difficult. So, for example, making provisions, depreciation, right? It is impracticable in cash accounting system. Then how can value the cost of an assets, then carrying value of an assets, then how we can determine the liabilities? So it's questionable, no? So that's why many researchers nowadays proposes accrual based accounting system for government organization also. However, within these extremes, extreme means uh, cash accounting system is one extreme, one point, and accrual based accounting system is another point, right? So we take as a line, right? We take as a line. So this is a two ends. These are the two ends. Here we mention, we take cash accounting system. Here accrual accounting. This point is accrual accounting system, right? So these are the two extremes. However, within these extremes, there are numerous arrangements which can be put in place. We have to make some modifications on case accounting as well as accrual based accounting. So government, private sector organization totally now totally depends on accrual based accounting, but government organization totally relies on case account system. Right? So for the better operations of accounting, we have to make some arrangements on a peer case account system to some extent, and also accrual account system to some extent here. So middle, right, middle, or something like here, or at least something like here, right? So, however, within these extremes, there are numerous arrangements which can be put in place to modify pure cash or pure accrual accounting systems in order to best, in order to best to meet accounting and reporting objectives of the entity. So, they have to make some arrangement on pure cash account system and pure accrual based accounting system to best meet the accounting and reporting objective of government organizations. So whatever the precise method of accounting chosen, whatever the method, cash or accounting, accrual accounting, its situation within the spectrum of arrangements between full cash and full accrual accounting. These are the two extremes, full cash or full accrual accounting. There's a general agreement that primary objectives, primary aim of any accounting and reporting system should be to provide information. So whatever the accounting system, the cash or accrual accounting system, the ultimate objective, the primary objective is to provide information. Provide information that is useful for decision making. That information should useful for decision making as well as the best to meet the need for accountability of resources. Accountability for resources. It should provide useful information for decision making as well as the accounting system should establish for accountability for resources. Accountability for resources, responsibility for resources. In the government organizations, the government offices, most of the them are wasting a lot of resources, wasting electricity, wasting photocopier, wasting printer, wasting papers. But in the private sector organizations, you couldn't find this kind of wastages, right? So, say for example, if the government of if in the government organization uh, have a record on the uses of toner, uses of paper, electricity for each and every offices individually, then what will happen? That each officers are responsible, accountable for the resources allocated to that officer. And he will maybe use the resources efficiently because he is an accountable person. The resources for the resources allocated for him. But normally in the government organization, we couldn't observe that kind of thing. We can observe lot of wastages, right? Say compare the printer at home, private printer, and printer at office. The printer at home, they will use very efficiently. They think twice before get print out. But in the office, regardless the purpose, they are enjoying the printer, enjoying the A4 sheets, enjoying the electricity. So this is because of accountability is not there in the government organization. So the ultimate objective of the accounting, it may be in the cash accounting or accrual-based accounting, it should provide useful information to get a better decision making, and also it should ensure the accountability for resources. So that is the main objective of the accounting system. Right. Why accrual accounting for public sector? Why accrual accounting for public sector? So debate about the merits of applying accrual accounting public sector have tended. Now the the trending research, a trending debate is in favor of applying accrual based accounting system in public sector also. In the past, to concentrate on the inherent differences in the nature of public and private sector organization activities. Here, earlier whenever uh, suggest to implement the accrual based system in government organization, they are arguing, no, we can't follow that. Private sector organizations is different. Public sector organization is different. Public sector organization is established to providing better services, not for making profit. Therefore, we have to use cash accounting. Private sector organizations work for making profit. Therefore, they have to implement accounting system, accrual accounting system. It was in the past, but now the current trend is most of the researchers argues that it the accrual accounting system is should be implemented in government sector also, public sector also, right? That's a trend. Accrual accounting for business enterprises in the public sector. So, for example, Sri Lanka Telecom and CTP, Ceylon Transport Board, and Exercise Department, and Ceylon Electricity Board, Water Board. These are the government sector organization, public sector enterprises to make profit. So, NIBM, National Institute of Business Management, NSBM, Green Campus. So one of the government business enterprises, Sri Lanka Telecom, Mobitel, the government organizations, and there are many business organizations in the government sector. Right now, we consider accrual accounting system for such business enterprises in the public sector. Right? Assume, keep it in your mind, CEB or Central or CTP, Ceylon Transport Board. Keep it in your mind when we discussing these areas. The appropriateness of accrual accounting system, accrual accounting for business enterprises in public sector has generally been accepted. By all, because even though it's a public sector organization, it is engaging in business. No, it's engaging in business. Business mean making profit. Business making profit. That's a revenue and as well as expenditure. Not like school and hospitals. Not like school and hospitals. So keep it in mind. Satosa Sri Lanka. It's one of the business enterprise in the public sector organization. So people as general citizen of Sri Lanka, we also expect that the Satosa Sri Lanka should earn profit, right? CTP, CEB also have to make profit since these are the government organizations. The performance of such organizations also measured in terms of profit and efficiency. Right. Relative independence in management and control of operations afforded to these bodies. Right. When you look at these bodies are independence, not like school and hospitals. Right. So they can get their own decisions. They can have their own management and they have own control. Therefore, so they can apply accrual accounting system. And the commercial nature of the operations. Commercial nature. Objective is providing better services with profit, with reasonable profit. Then they can use accrual accounting. The need to establish accountability for the total resources used. Right. So one of the major things in contributing making profit is expenditure. Right. So in the if they implement accrual accounting system, each officers become accountable for the resources allocated to that officer. Then then there's a need, right? There's a control of there's a waste of resources should be eliminated in the government sector organization. Therefore, it is possible. It's okay to implement accrual accounting system. And the ability to assess performance, has been making profit or loss, and financial positions, assets and liabilities in commercial terms at a strategic level, like private organizations, or the business enterprises in government sector also perform in terms of making profit and to increase their financial strength in terms of balance sheet, financial position. Profitability is an important measure of the success of these entities. Profitability is an important measure of the performance of the entity. So therefore, when they implement the accrual-based system, it's very useful. And it demonstrates the ability to control the cost for individual projects and activities in relation to the revenues generated through sales. See the outlets, right? CTB Ampara, CTB Kalmune, CTB Akarapathu, CTB Meticulo, right? So each and every uh, regions depots are responsible for the aggregate cost. Satose, right? Each Satose branches are responsible for their sales and the cost. So therefore, accrual system is suitable for them. It demonstrates effective demand for entities' activities and is a measure of continued viability. Right? Demonstrate effective demand for entities' activities and measure of continued viability. So it's it in accounting we say going concern. Going concern is depends on profitability also. Right? Viability is the going concern also can be measured using the accrual accounting system. Financial position, balance sheet. Financial position has reflected in the balance sheet of the assets and liabilities. So financial position provide information to the degree of likely future vulnerability, solvency, and capacity of adaptation. Right? When look at the balance sheet provide information on the degree of likely future vulnerability, future risk, future solvency, bankruptcy, and capacity for adaptation. So the adaptability of changing in environmental things. Like most of the countries reforming public sector who have entities operating along with commercial lines. Right? Almost all government organizations which are engaging in commercial lines have favored adoption of accrual accounting for many of the above reasons. So due to these 8 reasons, most of the commercial line entities in the government sector adopt for the accrual accounting system. Right? It is very important. Right? Now see accrual accounting to the core. Core means, say for example, police, Department of Police, Ministry of Defense, schools, hospitals. These are the core, the basic, the base, very important government organizations. These organizations are not make profit, and also if the government give this to the private sector, so for example, police, if government given the Department of Police to the public private sector, what will happen? What will happen? So, so there are some organizations in Sri Lanka public sector, right? Hospital, defense, health, defense, education, right? So these are the is coming under considered as a core, very important core. So these are depend on budget. They are the money where it's come from. The hospital money where comes from the budget, government budget. So that such organizations are depending on government budget. So accrual accounting to the core budget dependent elements of public sector. Assume school, hospital. Historically, there has been less consensus, right? For business enterprises, more concerns in favor of accounting accruals accounting system. But in case of core government organizations, accrual system is less concerned, less consensus on the merit of introducing accrual accounting to the core budget dependent element of the public sector. Right? So there's a lot of arguments against the accrual accounting system in the core budget dependent government sector elements for public sector organizations, school, hospital, like that. Profit is not an object. Profit is not an objective or measure of performance. Profit is not the objective or it is not the performance measurement for core public sector activities. Therefore, accrual account system is not necessary. But rather, the aim is to deliver goods and services consistent with government policy. Consistent with government policy. Right? For example, CEB. CEB is providing services that they are giving electricity services at the lower cost, at concessionary rate. If the government given this service to the private sector, what will happen? The major objective is to provide, make profit. Therefore, what they will do? They will charge, for example, we have to pay 500, 600 rupees per unit. It is a serious issue in the European countries. Right? So hospital, the aim of the hospital, government hospital, is not to provide, to make profit. Government policy is to give free health services to the citizens. So that's a government policy. The objective is to provide, deliver good services, goods and services according to the government policy. So therefore, accrual account system is not suitable. Performance in context need to be judged on the wider set of criteria rather than financial test of success or failure. So private sector, especially for the profit-making organizations, the performance is measured based on the financial test, profit or loss. But in the public sector organization, that is not the criteria. That is not the performance measurement. The measurement, there are a lot of criteria, and there was a degree to what extent the hospital, government hospital, deliver good services. So, what's the degree of output of schools? What's the pass rate in O level, pass rate in A level, right? So, these are the performance. There are a lot of criteria rather than making profit or loss. Revenue is not revenue making sales. Revenue is not derived from sales, but flows from appropriations through the exercise of power of taxation. Right? Government will allocate the fund, then they can get money, not by sales. The ongoing viability, going concern, the ongoing viability and solvency of public sector activities is determined by the willingness of government. If government is willing to keep the organization, they keep. The government not care about the profit or loss of the organization. So if government willing to maintain the organization, keep the organization, yes, it will keep. So the viability, the going concern is depends on the will of the government to continue funding rather than ability of entity or service to earn net return. So if the government wanted to keep the organization, it will continue funding. Right? If not, government stop funding and demolish the organization. Future vulnerability, right? The variations, risk is not the function of financial structure of the activities, but is more depend upon the success of the programs and activities in meeting the policy objective set for them by the government, right? And capacity for adaptation is not relevant. Capacity for adaptation. So adapt to the uh, accrual account system is not relevant as entities may not permitted as flexibility to buy sell assets on their on behalf. Right, say school or hospital, right? So they can't take decisions to buy or sell assets available in the organizations. They don't have enough capacity, enough power to do so, right? So due to these reasons, they are unable to adapt, they are unable to go for accrual account system. The paramount objective for account system for the core public sector has thus traditionally viewed as the control for cash spending, right? So the core public sector is all the times are depending on how to control the cash spending, right? Allocated budget. So the lower cost should provide the good services. So if government decided to 10 million, the 10 million is a ceiling, and you can spend up to 10 million, no issue. but it is, you can't go for above the allocated money. So the control of case spending in accordance with the parliamentary limits. Recent interest in extending accrual accounting and reporting arrangements to core public sector activities has attempted to move the debate on. Earlier, so at present, right, the current trend is extending accrual accounting and reporting arrangement to public sector activities, core public sector activities has happened to move the debate on. Right, earlier they are considered about the government sector is different from the public sector. The government sector public sector is different from private sector. Those kind of issues. Now, the recent interest to implement the accrual accounting system even in the core public sector organizations, even in the core public sector organizations. The debates now, earlier the debates on consideration relating to the relative roles of the public and private sector. So public is different from the private sector. Earlier, the debate on this. Right now, the debate shift from this one to here, shifted to the merits of one or other form of accounting. Now, uh, rather than comparing public sector and the private sector, now they are moving on the benefit of accrual accounting system over the case accounting system. Now, all government organizations are considering accrual accounting system, implementing accrual accounting system rather than uh, case accounting system. It is aimed at tailoring accounting and financial reporting to a specific condition of the public sector by addressing the questions. Now, now it is aimed at tailoring accounting, right? They are going to make some adaptations on cash accounting and accrual accounting and financial reporting. Not like business organization financial reporting. It's they're going to make some arrangements, some modifications, adaptations, modifications, right, to the public condition of the public sector by addressing the questions. So based on this question, they are going to they are going to introduce the uh, accrual accounting system. So what is the most appropriate accounting and reporting framework to meet the of users, need of users of financial information? Now they are focusing on the information for the users, given the performance and accountability requirement, and also not only the information for the users, they are considering the performance and accountability requirements currently applicable to the public sector environment. So now they are not argue with uh, the nature of public sector accounting and private sector accounting. They are not argue that. Now they are moving to so what is the most appropriate accounting system? Cash system or accrual accounting system or combination of both? And who are the users? And what are the purpose of the information? And also it should be ensure the performance and accountability requirement. Okay.